The lessons I've learned from the sea is that we're all a part of something bigger and larger than ourselves, and that there's so much history in the sea as well. Just so many people going out and either fishing or traveling, just that it just humbles you with how small we seem and how big and beautiful it is.
Hi, my name is Erin Shea, the creator of Poppy's Planet, and this is my sea story.
Poppy's Planet is a children's show based on play, perspective, movement, and mindfulness. It is a vision I came up with years ago when I was living out west, and it is a children's show for kids ages 3 to about 8. It's a concept and a vision that I came up with myself, and it's in the process of creating that vision on camera, and it's on YouTube. I studied theater in New Haven, Connecticut, and then in New York City at a school called Circle in the Square. The theater department at Southern in New Haven was so small that we got to do a little bit of everything. After I graduated, I did some traveling as an ESL teacher in Costa Rica and Panama, where my parents were at the time. And I sort of did that self-discovery road through travel. Through teaching, I just fell in love with the kids, and I was like, I had this concept in my head of Poppy's Planet for so long. After that, I started just to write it all down. So I just wrote it as, how would I want kids to feel? What would I want kids to see? And how do I take the perspective of what I learned in Central America and throughout the world and get into basic concepts of mindfulness and awareness of their surroundings? And how do I introduce kids to other cultures and other feelings, and especially around nature? I grew up in Clinton, Connecticut, on the water. And being on the shoreline of Connecticut, there was so much opportunity. What you would do was go to the beach and go to the water. My dad lived on a boat, and at the time it didn't work. So when we'd go with my dad, we would fish off the boat. That didn't work. But he had a little dinger, and we would just go out into the water all the time. I've learned so much through just swimming and being next to the water. When I was in elementary school, middle school, and throughout high school, I was very restless. My feet would not stop moving under the desk. Getting a diagnosis of ADHD super early in life, I would always, after school, beg my parents to go to the beach and just dunk in the water. It seemed to calm me down. And until one teacher said, I think she needs to be in dance and theater. And so that sort of changed the course of my vision later in life and my education and what I needed as a super restless kid in school, because I just didn't learn by sitting. I just learned on my feet, and that's what my teaching and my vision of Poppy's Planet I wanted to speak to those kids, the kids that could not stop thinking and moving and creating. And I would always go to the ocean to ground myself, and there was something about it, about like jumping in, feeling the temperature, feeling the cold, and I would always go on my back underneath the ocean, and if there was any waves, you'd go underneath and look up, and the wave would just crash. You'd open your eyes, even though it kind of stung for a second. It would just crash over you, and just instantly it would clear my head. Eventually, I moved down to Panama and opened up a cafe in the mountains called Cafe Mariposa, and it was in a butterfly sanctuary. That's where I gained most of my perspective, because we didn't have a car, so we took public bus everywhere, and then we would only bike for the food that was served at the cafe. So we'd bike up these mountains. I got real strong, and that just was like so invigorating and incredible to see how people lived in the mountains that were so happy. We have food, water, shelter. We have everything we need. We're rich. It was just an incredible, beautiful way to live. And I said, I need to make sure I'm always, always near the sea. There was a wonderful organization that I worked for in Monterey, California called the Wahine Project. And it took kids from different places in California that didn't have access to the beach. No phones, no social media, just the healing properties of them playing in the waves. The feeling that the kids got for not only seeing the sea for the first time, but actually going in it, it was pure play. And seeing the look on their faces with whatever that they were going through in their young lives, seeing them be able to smile that big and jump around and play around was the biggest joy of my life.
Yay! Hello, friends, and welcome to Poppy's Planet, a place to spark creativity.
When I'm teaching or on Poppy's Planet, the senses are very important to those concepts of mindfulness.
We're gonna explore texture today.
The simple, basic self-awareness that goes in with your senses is really heightened at the beach because you can hear so much. You can smell so much of the salt in the air. You can feel the texture of the sand, and you can look at a beautiful ocean. It's very simple self-awareness, mindful concepts that we introduce to kids on my show, wherever we go. And the beach is like the perfect example for that. So it's very important to just always be in tune with that in nature. And that's what I want to encourage. My first experience with the Mystic Seaport Museum, I was in 6th grade, and we came here on a field trip. Entering this entire world, being transformed in time to the 1800s, was the most interactive learning on your feet experience for me. To get me out of the classroom and to get me away from the desk was a dream come true, to a place that you feel safe, transported in time to run around and to learn different things. So I was fully engaged. And I remember thinking, oh, like, this is how I learn.
I did it. I'm doing it.
The qualities that I try to teach children through my show and my teaching is creative expression, and learning on your feet is okay. And I try to teach them kindness, empathy, and compassion. I've seen these qualities carried through the Mystic Seaport Museum in a way where everybody that works here are so passionate about what they do. I think my sea story lays somewhere between being clear and finding my vision that I found today and my learning experience. I think that the sea has shaped my mindfulness in order to know myself, in order to know what kind of learner I am and what kind of vision and clarity I need to execute my dream. So it always set me straight. So I think my sea story remains around mindfulness, perspective, play, and movement. I hope viewers feel a sense of joy listening to this story, because it truly is a story of somebody who had trouble as a child and growing up, to be able to take a creative vision and make it come true with the inspiration of this area. I've come full circle teaching kids from the West Coast to Central America to the East Coast, because it's all based around the water. I am fully inspired by the sea to then teach myself and to grow my own programs and to grow my own show.